Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are on this fast forward planet. This is a Sunday Sanity take on my Sustain What webcasts. Andy Revkin coming to you from the hinterlands of Maine. And let's just dive right into what this is about.
Everyone in the same note, please. 13.
Ai, o baile da povoação é um baile campanudo. Ai, o baile da povoação é um baile campanudo. Ai, eu vejo a povoação pela beira do canudo. Ai, eu vejo a povoação pela beira do canudo.
Ai, minha mãe para me casar oferece-me uma tigela. Ai, minha mãe para me casar oferece-me uma tigela. Ai, depois de estar casado parti-me a cara com ela. Ai, depois de estar casado parti-me a cara com ela.
Andy, I believe you're muted. Sorry.
Sorry, you are totally right. As always, from the early days of the pandemic, I had muted myself. This is Andy Revkin coming to you from the hinterlands of Maine. This is the Sunday Sanity version of my Sustain What webcast. And it's really exciting to reconnect with Maria Lusque, Professor Maria Lusque from Pace University, and Lou Guarneri, who's a professor there as well, the communications and journalism program, where I taught from 2010 to 2016, including co-teaching this course with Maria Lusque. They just this year went to the Azores Islands that are part of Portugal, but off in the Atlantic Ocean, and that I got to visit a couple of years ago. And while I was there, I was smitten by a certain instrument, and this instrument also has smitten the class, and they chose to make this film about these islands and about this musical magic. Congratulations to you all, first of all. You've had a great run of it. It was particularly exciting to hear that this film was premiered in a theater in the islands there, not just here in Westchester, New York, and elsewhere, of course, online. And that's just a great achievement. I think one of the great things about this particular course is how you connect with people in these countries in an immersion that results in relationships, and here the communication spills into the country, into the place where the reporting was done. So maybe Lou, and can you introduce yourself briefly, and then Maria, talk about how this course came about, which was way before I got to Pace, and take us through, introduce the other students who are here, and we can get going with the conversation, show some more clips. So Lou, what's your part in all of this?
Okay, cool. Hi, I'm Lou Guarneri. I'm one of the film professors at Pace University, also a Pace alum. I was taking this class as a student as well, with Dr. Lusque and Professor Revkin, who are both great friends and great mentors and all that fun stuff. I enjoyed it so much as a student that I had to keep doing it in the in the workforce. I have a background in TV and video production, and in terms of these projects, typically Maria and I kind of take different parts of the process. So whereas Maria is very much a director, producer, working on the story, I'm kind of the one who's more focused on the equipment, the editing, stuff like that. So we kind of take on different parts of the process and collaborate in that regard. And it's one of my favorite, labors of love to work on at base.
And Professor Lesquet, this got started, oh my gosh, it must be
20 years.
Wow.
About 20 years ago. I've been at PACE for 30. And I developed this class way back when, and it has just taken off. I've taken students all over the world, and it's been a really great addition and very notable in our department. Students tell me that they came to PACE and majored in media and communication arts because of this class. So it has been a labor of love. It's been a wonderful run. We've really enjoyed it. Tonight, I have with us 3 of my star students who worked really hard on this program. Sam Baturla, who is a gem of a student who worked with me side by side doing all of the social media and project management. She was a really big help. Kat Brennan, who is a techie and loves camera and editing, and she also worked side by side with Professor Guarneri and I, and Angie Starn, who we made lead editor for all of her creativity. Angie actually created the trailer for the documentary, and she was instrumental in the post-production phase. So and they're all done. They're all graduated. They're off. They're all hopefully almost gainfully employed. If anyone is looking for star producers, directors, and cinematographers and editors, they are available. So they should have over their screen available to work. Like they
I should have put on we should have had a QR code or the like. Well, when we're done, this is live right now, but when we're done, the video that I'll be doing a little editing to the video because of my microphone lapse, and in that final version, we can drop in some way to connect with them all.
Good.
I was wondering if each of you 3 could talk about one aspect of this particular project shoot that really moved you or frustrated you or excited you. Maybe starting at the lower left of the screen. I don't have your names right in front of me for some reason.
That's Sam.
Sam.
Yeah, one of the most moving moments for me when we were kind of in the process of filming, when we were in the Azores, was definitely the moment that one of our the star kind of our documentary, who's on the cover right there, Rafael Carvalho, when he played for us the very first time his song Origins. It was just he played it for us and the whole room just was silent, and you could just feel the goosebumps just rising on all of us, and it was just such a monumental moment for me, it felt like, and for our film and for just the music itself. It really spoke louder than words could really ever tell us, and it was such a it just the viola da terra is such a special instrument, and it was really that moment for me that it really stood out and that I knew that we were really creating something special. And I would definitely say that it was that moment for us, and it was this moment right here.
Okay, let me turn up the sound.
They've had a creative practice. What makes music so important is that it's beyond language. When we look at music, we look at the instruments as works of art. We look at the instruments as works of art that create work of art. And we look at the musician that's performing that instrument, that's acting as a vessel for the music. And we also look at the craftsmen as part of that. And we look at the audience and the community who's participating in that tradition.
I think the viola da terra is one of these instruments, like many, that are bound up with people, that are bound up with place. And an instrument like this is more than an instrument. It's something that's a vehicle of cultural identity. It's a vehicle of personal identity. In a sense, instruments like this, they're more than instruments. They function almost as living entities. So when you think about the beautiful heart-shaped forms in the viola da terra, and you think about the way in which the instrument is used, it's a national voice.
That's such an interesting point. You know, there are violins everywhere, there are guitars everywhere. There are very few instruments I can think of where you actually can take the origin of that particular thing back to a place. Maybe one of the other students can weigh in on how that felt different or special.
For me, I found that it was really incredible just to see how deep the roots went and how entwined the instrument is to not only their culture but their people. I come from a line of immigrants. My mother's an immigrant. So it's very important for me to be able to see culture and how it connects back through all these years, through all these different generations of people. And back to the first question too, that was sort of, I believe, my most touching moment was being able to interview. We interviewed a lot of people, and all of them had these incredible stories about how they started playing, and you could trace it back in their family. A lot of them started playing because of their grandparents, because of their parents. It's a very generational instrument, and it's really beautiful to see how just ingrained it is. It's not just an instrument, like it was mentioned in the documentary. It is a national voice, and we really got to see that when we were producing this documentary.
And let's talk a little bit about where this is. Where you're really out in the middle of the ocean, right? Have you been to a place like this before? Even in the Caribbean, you know, islands are kind of tucked in close to. Maybe the third student or back to Lou can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I've actually, funny enough, I have been to Cuba before, and it almost reminded me of it, but it was a little more developed, so that was nice. But I think that being so isolated and being in literally the middle of nowhere, we would reflect on that a lot. Sometimes we'd have moments where we're standing there and we're filming an interview, and in the middle of an interview, we're thinking to ourselves, oh my gosh, we're really in the middle of nowhere. And I think that being able to be there in this isolated place and bring something that's so small and has such a small community in such a remote place out to the rest of the world was probably the most moving part for me, at least. I think that just having that hand in something where you get to help these musicians that are from somewhere so unknown, help them uplift their voices was the most important part to me, I would say.
And to Lou, as one of the interviewees just mentioned earlier, one of the musicologist types, there's these maybe three levels of this. There's the craft of the instrument, there's the craft of the performance, and then the actual compositions as well. So you're a musician, and let's talk about that a little bit. That aspect of what you saw and what you've put into this film.
Sure, absolutely. And I'd also like to add in that both Angie and Kat are also musical. And Sam, I don't remember if you are as well. I'm sorry about that, but we can definitely hear from them as well. For me, Andy and I were kind of chatting before this kicked off, and I was saying that this is my eighth documentary with Maria Luske. Just keep going because they're just so much fun and such a labor of love. But this one was the story that I felt most connected to. The second Maria told me that this was going to be about music, I was already excited about it. But just being there in person, I think Angie and I were the ones talking about this on the bus in between one of our interviews. But I was saying that like there's this interesting like you almost develop a bond with another musician instantly because like with Raphael, I was playing his instrument, and even though we had known each other for like an hour or so, it was like totally comfortable moving my hand around or like, so, you know, like you have this thing in common that like if I just met someone and they touched my hand, I would immediately be like, back up, buddy. But because we have this thing that kind of links us, it was way easier for me to connect to people in this project over music as opposed to in the past where it was like, you know, talking about food in France or oysters or whatever. Like they're interesting, sure, but because this was something that I've grown up with, it hit so close to home in so many ways. And just hearing people speak passionately about music resonates with me because I grew up around it. I really feel like being a part of a local music scene in New York is kind of what helped push me towards being in this creative space to begin with. So music is very special to me. It's a very big part of my life.
And seeing the mayor interviewed there of that particular town reminded me of a conversation I had with him a couple of years ago about the challenge of sort of depopulation, that young people aren't staying in the Azores and many island communities around the world that I've been to, just like rural communities in America, are seeing this sort of drift away. Did you feel that you had some sense of the cultural roots there sustaining people being there? And Maria, too, feel free to chime in on this kind of thing.
Well, one of the things that I wanted to say, Andy, and this is to credit you, you and I, when we did this together, we worked on environmental sustainability.
Mhm.
This is sustainability. This is cultural sustainability.
Right.
And if you don't carry on the traditions, they go away. So the important piece for me, and the reason that I felt so it felt so necessary for us, for me, to take this story and bring it to Lou and to bring to everyone else, was because I felt like it was just one of those traditions, again, that will disappear if you don't carry it on. And
Right.
this instrument is only made there in the Azores. So, you know, if people don't learn, if the young people don't learn how to make the instrument, if young people don't learn how to play the instrument, then that sound and that instrument is gone. But what we saw there, I believe, and the students can attest to this, is that it is being carried on. Young people are interested, young people are playing it, and they understand the importance of passing it on from generation to generation. And, you know, it's a Portuguese European country. And I believe that tradition, just like food, and just like everything else that you pass on to others, this is as important as that. So in the past, we did a lot of environmental sustainability, and I felt like cultural sustainability at this point was just as important. And it was something that I started with you doing.
That's great. And that they're both entwined. Even the environmental and cultural sustainability are interrelated. I put on the screen there if folks want to tune in and see the story of the story of making this, you go to pacedocs.pace.edu, and there's a blog and lots more information there on how this came together and the people who made it, which gets us to the hard part. You know, when a documentary is produced and launched, it's clean and neat, and it's got music and it's got lighting and quality, but there's a lot of work that goes into that. So maybe back to the students a little bit on what it was like, and also you're on a timeline. You're only there for how long were you there actually?
Just a
We
week.
were there for a week.
Right, and this is the course was built around this sort of spring break, quote unquote break. And you're planning through January, February, March, and then March you go, and then edit. So maybe the students of 1, 2, 3 can talk a little bit about. Was it scary? What what was it like when you're going, you're spending a lot of money to get there. You got to get the shot, as Maria and I would always exhort. Did you get the shot? Someone has to get the sound right. My son just produced a film, and he's at a film festival right now promoting it, and all those elements are just like niggling at you. So talk a little bit about that process behind the scenes.
It
And
definitely
yeah.
it definitely was, nerve-wracking going into it, especially from my point of view, because I come from a writing background. My bachelor's degree is in writing and rhetoric, and my master's degree, I did the combination program at Pace, is in communications and digital media. And so I haven't really had a lot of focus with being on camera and with editing. So that was all really a lot of new things for me. So I had a lot of nerves going into kind of holding the camera and kind of with sound and audio, but I feel like I really tackled that like head on and went into it with a good head on my shoulders. And Kat was in my group, so I think Kat can attest to, even though I was a little bit nervous, I really I took the reins here and there from time to time in our group with trying to take the camera and really get the right shot in here and there, and being excited with, guys, I think I got a good shot here. I got a good shot there. And I think the audio sounds really good. And so it was definitely nerve wracking from not coming from that background already, but it was a lot of fun, and learning on the go and having a lot of help and support from everyone around you really helps like build you up from that support and with the team and kind of the team that you build. So I was really kind of grateful for that, and with everyone.
Yeah, I can attest. Sam was in my group, and I was very fortunate. And because I've actually been able to do this in my second doc, I did the first documentary in Spain, where I was in a very similar position to Sam. I was a communications major. I had never edited. Flash forward, I ended up being lead editor in Spain. So having come from that and really be very much like on hit the ground running, like I'd never opened Adobe Premiere before Spain 2024. So coming back into it for Portugal, I had an idea of how it was going to be. I think for me, one of the toughest things was, I think for Spain, I had a lot of time to be like, yeah, that was really awesome. And I forgot how much work went into it. And then we get back into Portugal and I'm like, oh my God, there's so much to do. There's so much to see. There's so much to make sure we record. Sam was in my group, and it was really awesome having like another comms major with me. We were reminding each other a lot about how to do all these different things. We got to see so many things just in terms of like the culture. There was always something to record. Even when we weren't technically focusing on filming, there was always something we could film. Personal camera, on the cameras we brought with Pace Docs, always something, even phones. There's some footage in our documentary that got in from people's phones, from people's iPhones. And it's just a very big reminder that like, wow, whenever we're doing a project like this, something as big as this, there's no break. You don't have downtime. It's go, 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 and very much like run and gun. That's how Dr. Leskay likes to describe it, run and gun.
Yeah, run and gun, but get the shot and sound. We have to talk about sound because did you bring any particularly special microphones this time, or was this all just with the standard kit? Lou, what was the? You were like the Q guy in the James Bond film, you know.
It was a nightmare. I will say that I'm so stoked with the results that we got. In fact, when we premiered in Jacob Burns, someone in the audience specifically complimented us on like the sound mixing and everything. Because obviously with projects like this, you go in saying like, okay, we need our interviews to sound crispy. We need to make sure we're getting nat sound on location, right? Just that, when I say nat sound, I'm talking about we went to the factory in Portugal in 2012 where they were making the corks, and we got the sound of the machines and the little popping sound, like, sound that's occurring in the environment. But for something like this, when it's involving music and very, fine instrumentation, you want to make sure that you have a clean mix, and, you really want to represent everything. A friend of mine back in the day talking about music recording, kind of explained to me that, like, think about it like you're going to a party and everybody's talking at once. You can't discern everything. When you're recording properly, everyone should kind of have their own space so you can hear everyone, equally. So that was something that was really important to me going into this project. And we had a bunch of different types of mics from Pace. I won't get super nerdy and bore your audience with the details on that one. But a couple of very unique discoveries we made was, for one, we left the lavalier mics, the microphones that clip onto people's collars, on the people, because typically what we were doing was we were interviewing them, and then at the end of it, we would say, "Hey, can you play something for us?" And we found that mic being so close to the instrument got us a really nice low end, because the back of the instrument is up against, like their torso. So you got some of that nice resonance there. And in a lot of ways, we had layers and layers and layers of different audio inputs going together. So we had like a standalone mixer that various people operated that would just kind of capture the room. Then some of the musicians would have their own microphones. Some of them would have mics sitting on top of the camera. And we found a way to blend all of those together to try and represent the instrument, as accurately as possible. And it was kind of a nightmare, but it was really cool in the end. So it's all worth it.
And were there any moments after you got home when you said, "Oh, expletive, why didn't we do that?" Was there something? Maybe the students too, if there's anything that comes to mind.
Well, Angie did a lot of editing for this project, so not to put you on the spot, but I feel like you'd be a good one to answer it.
Yeah, no, totally. I was going to jump in anyway. This kind of relates back to your question earlier. Did we get the shot? Well, did we get the audio? Is kind of where our head was at when we were back in the editing room doing this thing. I think that there was definitely a lot of challenges. You think about, you're filming one person, one subject, and we had about 3 to 4 cameras rolling. All of that has to be synced at the same time. All of the speaking has to be synced at the same time. The notes on the instrument, as per Professor Bonario was saying, all of that has to match. Even what you're seeing right now where their fingers are plucking the strings, all of that has to be correct, or else somebody is going to notice in the audience and say, "Hey, that's not the right song," or "Hey, that's not the right note," or "Ooh, that's a little out of tune." So there was definitely a lot of challenges putting that in sync, but once we had everything in sync, it was about making sure that it aligned with the story. Sometimes we would find that, hey, this song that they're playing here doesn't make any sense about the memories they're talking about, or the family that they're talking about. So we would have to really play around with a lot of the music. And we were fortunate enough to get a lot of music from the musicians themselves, like a lot of CDs, a lot of albums of theirs. So that kind of really brought that authenticity and kind of saved us in the long run, I would say.
Wow. Well, it's a fantastic achievement, and I'm sure it's too early to get the awards feedback yet, or is it already coming in? You're in some festivals, I believe.
Yep, we've already started. We've sent out the documentary and entered it into a few festivals, and we've heard from 2. We've been accepted in 2 already.
That's great.
So, yeah, that's normally what happens. We've got quite the record of festivals now. So
yeah, and that's part of the work. It's part of the work. It's really such a challenge for, it's a weird paradox these days that filmmaking generally has gotten so much cheaper theoretically. As you were saying earlier, you can do it with an iPhone. There was one of the feature films a couple of years ago, I think, was shot with an iPhone. At least parts of it was up for an Academy Award. But then you have this like explosion of content. So, here's your next stage. You already are out in the world. You're getting out in the world from academia. Maybe we could talk about that part of this. What are your hopes for your work? We can go down the list with the students there again. Where do you want to go from here? What's the ideal, and what are the intervening steps that you think you'll have to take? Top to bottom.
Am I at the top? I'm sorry, I don't know.
Yeah, sorry, you're at the top.
Okay, so in terms of, I could do both, like personal and the film. In terms of the film, I really hope that we just reach a large audience and are able to crack through these festivals and show the importance of the culture of the viola da terra. I already brought it home, which was super awesome. I'm in California, and I brought it to my high school and showed it there to over like I think 500 students. There was a lot of kids that showed up, so that was really amazing to already share this story of an amazing instrument and amazing culture. So that's what I hope for this. But in terms of myself, I hope to keep doing this. I love documentaries. I love long feature content's my jam. I just think that there's something to be said about telling a story that's bigger than yourself or a 1 to 2 minute reel. I think that a documentary like this is definitely what I want to keep doing in the future. And I don't know if anything will outlive this one because this is pretty special. So.
Oh, I imagine you've got a great future ahead of you. And next down the chain there.
Yeah, I'm definitely in a similar boat in terms of the documentary. It was incredible to bring such a moving, emotional story to life. The last documentary I did was still about an art that's very important to pass down from generation to generation, but I think nothing quite connects people like music. So I hope to see this documentary travel far and wide. I hope people see it, and I hope that it does what it sets out to do, which is introduce a broader audience to this incredibly niche and beautiful culture. And in terms of where I want to go, I agree with Angie. I absolutely love documentaries. I think it has quickly become one of my favorite films to make. Loved it so much I did it a second time. So I hope in the future I get to work on things like this. It's a very popular media type nowadays too, both on YouTube and on streaming sites. So
sure.
I look forward to all the different stories that may not be widely known. I want to bring more of those to light.
That's a great goal. And, even with all our connectedness in the world, it takes work to create the content that can widen people's views who might not normally see it. And I think you're doing a great job of that. And last but not least, again, I'm not remembering your names because I only have your faces in front of me. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I definitely agree with Angie and Kat. I think they both said that really well for the documentary. In terms for the documentary, I really hope that we can really share this on a wider global audience. And I really hope that it does meet the to the right people, and that we can really expand this so that people can really understand how much of an impact that the viola da terra does have on the world, and that the cultural sustainability is such a big thing, and that music really does transcend the bounds of just everything, and it's just very important. And in terms for me, I want to keep writing and keep telling stories that really do make a difference, whether that's in forms of poetry or forms of documentary and playwriting, and different forms of storytelling is what I really love to do most. And this kind of production world has really opened me up into a whole new light. So documentaries and being a production manager has really opened a new pathway that I didn't really know that I would love so much and really enjoy. So I'm really open to a whole new world of possibilities in this kind of pathway. So I'm really excited for the future.
That's great. I thought maybe we'll watch a little bit more of it. Lou, I think we said around 19 minutes. Is that sort of the act 3, or was it another spot? I'm not quite remembering.
Yeah, I just checked. Yeah, 19 is probably a good spot.
Oh yeah, right here. Yeah, hold on. By the way, before we start, a question has come in from Yvonne Alzupo, which is a little bit more. She wants to know a little bit more about the mics. Did you have that was interesting about the lavaliers just giving you that?
Yeah. So the primary, well, funny story about the lavaliers actually. We got there and so we have like 4 teams. We have 20 students. we had 4 teams, 5 students on each. Everybody has their backpacks, right? And that's their baby. And we're in the lobby of this hotel. Those 4 hotel staff with just 20 students and 2 professors all screaming at each other all hours of the day and night. we're in there and we're separating everything, and just like, there's stuff everywhere. And one of the students comes up to me and goes, "Hey, where are the lobs?" And we found out on like the first day was kind of a low stakes shoot. Like we were just kind of doing some, like touring stuff. So like we were getting, no interviews on that day. So it wasn't that big of a deal. It was a cool time to kind of get people comfortable with the cameras. So it didn't really come up until that evening. It was like 9 o'clock at night. And suddenly we're like, oh my God, we have. So fortunately, I had a backup set. Angie had a backup set. Like people brought personal gear, but we had way less mics than we normally would on a project like this. So that was a challenge. But that is the classic, like, no matter what kind of video production class I'm working with, something I always hit is like the ability to be flexible. And you can plan for 100 years and there's always, it's going to rain. There's always going to be something that goes wrong. And that was our day one curse. And we figured it out, but yeah, so our primary microphones usually we use from the brand Rode. The Rode Wireless Goes did a lot of our interviews. We had a VidMic Pro as well. And in terms of the handheld independent recorders, we had, I think, a Zoom H4n, I believe was the case that we were using. So those were kind of the primary drivers for most of the production.
So let's listen to a little more, maybe for a few minutes here. Just enjoy your work.
We can't live without the past. We need to know where we came from. We need to continue to play, even if it's only one guy or two guys. The world has to know what we do.
Desde pequeno que a minha avó tocava para mim e comecei a achar graça. Depois meu pai inscreveu-me na escola e eu não queria ir. Desisti. E depois acabei por ir gostar e fui criando entusiasmo.
When my grandma was alive, she always wanted me to play viola da terra, and she gave me my viola before she died, so it makes me think of her sometimes.
Ou os pais ou os avós é que ensinavam os filhos ou os netos. E era tudo de ouvido. E acho que é por aí que a viola da terra pode ser um instrumento de memória.
Quando o meu avô era vivo, eu sempre quis que eu tocasse um instrumento, mas eu comecei a tocar viola da terra e ele já não era vivo e às vezes quando estou a tocar eu sinto a presença dele.
Posso dizer que se não fosse talvez por causa do meu avô, hoje em dia não tocava viola. My grandfather put the guitar in my hands and somehow we saw some skill, and because of that, now I play guitar since a very tender age.
The biggest memory I have is that first class, because that defined, like I said, it changed my life in that way, because then I started to do a life that was connected to the instrument.
As memórias é baseado na viola da terra.
So it's not also only the memories, it's an instrument of memories, but it's also about living the day. And then when you have a moment that we can just be there, enjoy the moment. You are hearing the instruments, and I'm playing, and everything, the rest, the problems, there are no problems when you are playing.
I think that's why I like it. It makes everything calm.
uma extensão de mim. E para falar a verdade, eu sem a viola não vivo.
It's something that you have to hear. More than I can say 1,000 words, but when you experience, when you hear a slower song, a sad song, you will have some kind of feelings about that. When you hear a more joyful song, that people would dance, so it transports you. For me, sometimes when I'm playing, it transports me to my childhood. So for people, especially that's immigrated and they come here to see the family, when they hear that, they cry. Sometimes they're crying of happiness because they are just of the memories.
Just glorious. And again, the sound and the visuals is just you really done something magical. You probably, it may be in your piece somewhere. There's a word in Portuguese, saudade, which is yeah, you're all nodding. It's kind of this. They talk about it as sort of a happy sadness. Was that something you learned about while you were there? Maybe Maria.
Yes, we did. Raphael taught us about Saudade, and he played it for us, and it was very emotional for all of us. It's very different from Fado. When we were in Portugal,
right.
and we learned this was very different from Fado. Saudade is a different sound, and we realized that. And again, it is part of their culture, and it's something that Raphael said that when people who emigrated come back to the Azores, it reminds them of, before they left and when they were growing up. So it is very meaningful. This was a very emotional, meaningful trip, I think, for everybody. I think everybody felt something there. And they left there and they came home with the difference. Andy, part of being an educator for me, and you understand this, is seeing that light bulb, that spark that the students get. And I experience that on this trip and this class every year because students, A, appreciate the craft that they're learning and how to do it. And B, they appreciate the culture that they're being introduced to. So for me, it's very fulfilling to see that and understand, that Lou and I have made a difference in their education. We have taught them something that is totally and completely new to them. So it's been very rewarding. It really has.
And they're also learning how to make a film.
And they're learning the craft, right? The craft of filmmaking, yeah. So they start out with pre-production and then the writing and then the organizing of everything. And then they have to learn the camera, the editing, the sound, everything to do the production. And then when they come, the lighting, camera, sound, the whole, the setup, how to do an interview. They learn all of that. And then they edit it. And that takes, hours and hours and days and weeks, which we don't have a lot of when we come back. We don't have a lot of time. So that's around the clock, literally around the clock editing. And then they see promotion and they understand, social media and social media doesn't work if you're not social. So they have to get the word out and they have to tell everybody about it. And we premiered in Terceira and we premiered in Ponta Delgada as well as in Pleasantville, New York at the Jacob Burns Theater. So this had 3 theatrical runs, which was really great. Really great. Yeah.
Have you done that with any of the prior ones? I know the Curacao film was shown on TV in Curacao when we did it, but I don't recall. Have you gone back and done a premiere anywhere?
Yes. We started that actually last year. So I went back to Spain and I attended the premiere in Spain, and Lou went back to Terceira and attended the premiere there. So we could not attend Ponta Delgada. Pace wouldn't pay for us to go again, but it was great. It was great that Lou and I both got the opportunity to do that. But yes, and the other thing too is you're correct. A lot of the local television stations have picked us up in Portugal and in the Azores for this particular documentary, and they are playing it as well. And the news was following us, to find out what we were doing and why we were there. So that was very interesting. And the students got interviewed as well as I did for a news program. Why are these students from New York running around filming everybody? So yeah, that was great. We're getting a lot of press and notoriety. And this class has notoriety, and it really is bringing it right back to Pace, which is nice.
Absolutely. And Pace is a very special school. I really loved teaching there. I was able to build a course called Blogging a Better Planet, just without a lot of red tape. Just had students diving in on how to do that part of online communication. And subsequently, I was at a bigger university for a while, and the red tape was ridiculous. And just the fact that we could dive in and have these adventures, I think academia has generally gotten more timid and more risk averse. And this is a kind of course that's implicitly risky. Now, I don't just mean in terms of danger, but risky in terms of, there's costs and the liabilities and all that kind of stuff. Could maybe you and Lou talk briefly about why people might not appreciate that aspect of what Pace has been able to do?
I have to tell you, I think that for me, the academic freedom I've had at Pace to do this has been, it's been great. I mean, I've never been questioned about it. It's just, the study abroad loves us. They certainly support us in our programs. The president of the university, is overjoyed at this class. Marvin Krislov, he attends every one of our premieres, as well as the dean of Dyson College. So we definitely do get support from the university. But in terms of this class, the students pay tuition for the program, and then they pay for the class. Now, one of the things that's happened, Andy, since you left, was that we have been very fortunate to have alumni support. So now we have scholarships from alumni who have given back to the university. So I'm able to provide the students access to those funds. So instead of giving it to, one or two, what I asked the university to do, and they said yes, was the support that we got from the alumni, I split evenly through all the students. So everybody gets a piece of it, which helps them, pay for the class. So that was something that we got 2 years ago that was started. And that's been really great. That's been very helpful for the students. But yeah.
There's another, Ivan Alzupo just says here, expanding the mind with music and education and culture, a thumbs up.
Thank you.
Glad she's watching. Anything that we haven't gone over that you're eager to convey? Maybe we'll start with the students again one more time. What would you like to talk about that I haven't brought up related to this class or the state of the business, or et cetera? Anything come to mind?
I think maybe just how lucky we are to have done this. I think not a lot of students get this opportunity to not only go to a remote country like this one, but a different country itself, and then make something that they then can put towards their professional career at the end of it. So to have that 3 structure acts in a class and be making one at the same time is pretty special. And I think that this topic specifically of music, like Professor Guarneri said earlier, stuck out to me because this music is such a universal language, and that's a common question we get, was how bad was the language barrier there? And it was bad. None of us, only one of us spoke Portuguese. So I think being able to do this topic where it just transcends your own language and you're able to connect with people across the world that you can stay connected to and share their story is something that we're just, I know I am, but the students are just very grateful for from Pace and Dr. Leske and Professor Guarneri. So,
yeah.
So, sorry.
PACE likes to pride itself on experiential learning, and there is no better example than this class. I remember being a high school senior and touring Pace University, and one of my main deciding factors to come to this university when I finally settled on communications was that there is no college or university around me really that does anything like this. It is an incredibly unique course, and we are blessed to have two incredible professors who do support you, but also lets you take the reins. I mentioned earlier, I didn't know how to edit before taking the documentary, and I came to Dr. Lescape with an idea, and she went, "Great, do it." And I was like, "What?" And having that push from a professor who had faith in me to be able to deliver a product, not just something for class, but something that would be premiered in a movie theater, and having not only Dr. Lesky's support, but having Professor Guarneri's expertise and sort of it helped me build a lot of confidence in this field, and it also helped me cement that this is something I want to do for the rest of my life. And I don't think I would have gotten that same experience anywhere else. Truly.
That's great. I'm going to show one more little chunk of the film before we sign off. Right around, let's see, here, I think. Thank you all for your time and for the work you put into this.
Parte da nossa cultura, não.
Nowadays we have the instrument appearing in a lot of musical formations that did not happen in the past. Yes, but of course we need to evolve even more, put the instrument in other genres. But that's, of course, you have to learn that kind of music also and adapt. If we don't keep doing the classes, and if we don't keep doing the events, and we don't keep gathering people around, like I said, you lose motivation, and a lot of our students, they go to the mainland to continue the studies and don't come back. If you don't keep teaching, what we have built in 10 years can disappear.
These two students especially inspire me because they are very young. I prefer, honestly, teach kids than older people because first they learn faster, and also it's like an insurance that the music will still be here 50 years from now.
Well, the viola da terra symbolizes the Azores music. There is no traditional Azores music without it.
So for me, it's a life passion. When I'm playing, I'm always smiling. And I only feel alive when I started to do this full time. Who we are is part of how we grew up, our education, our parents. So it's special. Yes, and I like to share that with people.
Wow. The credits are always fun.
Show us how you do it.
Oh, you want us to know? I can show you how not to do it.
You can feel everything?
Yes. No, it's fine. It's fine. I saw the scary plane where I'm really scared. I'm really scared.
But I was grateful. Woo! We did it. We climbed to the top.
Oh, I think I know where you were. A lot of work. Bravo. It was fun to see Francoise Cornu's name there. She's still helping with.
Yes. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well,
still with us. Yeah.
Just hearty congratulations to all of you and to the rest of the class who are not here tonight. As this was a splendid continuation of filmmaking, learning by doing project through Pace University that I was privileged to be part of a long time ago, and it continues through 20-something years onward. Lou Guarneri, Marie Lesquet, and the students, thanks for coming on to Sustain What? And sustaining culture, particularly island cultures, particularly the arts. You know, we're in a time when there's so much focus on politics and the nightmarish aspects of what's possible on this planet. This is a clear glimpse at what's possible on the flip side, the hopeful, creative, beautiful side. Thanks again. And as soon as I hit end of stream, this is an archive video on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, wherever stuff streams. You can cut it up, share it, and let's continue this journey around this fantastic instrument and these islands. They're so special. Thank you to all of you.
Thank you.